Brent Siegrist, House District 19. We are now to the point where we're scheduled to adjourn 2 weeks from Tuesday. That is iffy, but I think maybe by the end of that week we might be able to get done. By scheduled to adjourn, what that means is we do get expense money when we're in Des Moines because we rent apartments and things like that to stay there. And so that money runs out 2 weeks from Tuesday, which is usually a good incentive to try to get out of Des Moines and go back home. We're down to, obviously there's some policy issues still out there, but basically to do the budget, and there may be some tax bills that are coming up too. I'm sure Senator Dawson may have something to say about that. On last week, both House and Senate announced their budget targets, their overall targets. The governor's budget was about $8.7 billion, something like that. The House budget targets, and we've had those split up to our different budget subcommittees like Education, Natural Resources, Health and Human Services, and so on. Our budget totals about $35 million more than the governor. We have some priorities we like to fund. The Senate's budget overall target is $80 million less than ours, and about $30 million less than the governor, so that will be the crux of the matter for the next couple of weeks, trying to work our way through that. So that's basically what is left to do. A couple of policy issues very briefly. The Senate had already passed it last year, but the House has passed back to the Senate. I'm sure Senator Dawson will get this one done, the mega sites bill, which is a very big economic development incentive that would only involve projects that are over $1 billion in investment. There's only 2 mega sites in the state of Iowa. One of them is just south of Council Bluffs in the Mills County area. There's a lot of ramifications. There's a lot of security there that a company has to come in and invest over $1 billion, has to employ this many people. They have to be paid this higher wage, much higher than the average wage, so on and so forth, in order to get those tax incentives, but that's a pretty big bill. We also passed a couple other bills, child care, property tax credit. If you own a child care facility, this would exempt you from your property taxes, which helps with those people that are running child care, which is very hard to make ends meet. And then we do just a couple other little things that you don't hear about. We passed different bills, but for example, one of the bills we passed would allow temporary alcohol licenses. So if you have a festival come to town, or Ragbri comes to town, or something like that, you're not always able to get a license maybe to serve beer and wine and what have you. And so we passed a bill out of the House that would allow you to have temporary license to have a festival if somebody was coming to town or something of that nature. There's a lot of little things we do like that. We passed an adoption tax credit. Currently, if you adopt a child, you can get a $5,000 tax credit. This bill raised it to $20,000 because it's very expensive to adopt a child. And basically, it's a pay me now, pay me later thing, because if you have a child in foster care or you have a child that's been abandoned, they become a ward of the state. If somebody adopts them long term, you're going to probably pay less money. And so there's a lot of those other bills that we're doing that you don't hear about, but they're very meaningful to a lot of people.
That was your bill too. You should take credit for that.
Yeah, it was my bill. Okay, neither here nor there. We're also doing one, last thing I'll mention is we have vape shops in town. Everybody does, and most of the products in the vape shops are unregulated. They come from China. We're not sure what's in that, and so we're in the process, my bill too, I'm getting beat up about it, is to limit what can be sold in those, make sure that they're regulated or approved by the FDA. But there's a good deal of controversy with that one, but we're trying to regulate and make sure we know what's going into those products when they come into the shops that are sold to people. So a lot of those types of bills, but the main focus the next 2 weeks will be the budget.